All right, we got an important one today. We have a major update on Bitcoin, which once I started going through this chart for a client, I decided let's go ahead and record this and let's get it out to a couple clients, including the rest of you. So first things first, we're looking at Bitcoin on a one-day chart. So on this one-day chart that I have here up on the screen, we're looking at a major full cycle, and then we have a new cycle, which these are the tags up at the top. So this previous cycle we just went through, I just want to go over some of the basics of how cycles work. And in this case, we've got three cycles. We have a bull phase, which is phase one. Then we have a consolidation phase, phase two. Then we have a phase three, which is a bear cycle going into a correction. And I'll go ahead and start this thing one by one, and then we'll kind of work our way into it. So again, this is the notes that I just took here. And what we have down at the bottom is the RSI, which helps us kind of determine the strength of the market, just because it goes from 0 to 100. So when something is 0 to 100 and it's capped, we at least know we're not going above or below that. Whereas when you're looking at the chart, the chart could go from 30,000 to 70,000 to 100,000. So it's constantly moving. So you can't look at something in one perspective. So that's the point of utilizing something like a RSI down at the bottom. And then what we also see is these little half circles here also representing cycles, and they're, general best estimates about cycles and how those work. So moving on to the next thing in terms of division of cycle, which is another major important aspect when it comes to trading. Because if you can't properly divide the cycle, you can't really understand the cycle. So, and you have to really understand that each cycle is really the same entity in and of itself. It's not really different. It's just the energy that's being put out by a given cycle or a sub-cycle represents itself in a different way. So I guess what I'm trying to explain here in basic sort of lingo, let's use this polyline. So basically a basis cycle is it goes up, possibly double taps, then comes back down, right? So that's basically the idea. Now, what this is a sort of balanced cycle, right? It's nice and balanced. And basically the idea is what I would see just in this is it's a full cycle, or what I would see is it's a balanced sort of phase two cycle. So if we're looking at what we have here as a full Bitcoin cycle, this is a phase two. So that's what I would call that. And then what we want to do is then represent, well, what would a phase one and a phase three look like? So let's put that here. All right. So we got those, and let's slide that over just so it's nice and clear. So what would a phase one look like? So first of all, phase one sort of breaks out a retest, which that's where most people tell you should buy at. Then it kind of comes up, maybe another readjustment, then it sort of reaches the top and then starts to work its way back down to a phase two. So in some people, they would call that the shoulder or a head, however you want to sort of look at it. Then it goes through a phase two, and then there's usually a major break past that sort of resistance level to a phase three. Now, the problem with phase three is it lures a lot of people in to buy, when really what phase three is designed to do is to lure you in and then crash down to the bottom. So that's what phase three and basic idea is designed to do. So again, coming back to the chart, we see our phase one, phase two, phase three. And that's what we see replicated here. Phase one, major bull move, consolidation, and then a bear move. Now, what I want to get to is something very specific, and what I believe the market's doing now. A critical thing, again, people use, there's many methods to use for investment, but one critical thing to use, one is like a RSI, stochastic, volume, whatever the case may be, but another one is the moving average or EMA. And in this case, we've got a moving average here in blue. And at the beginning of this first phase one, at the ending of that last cycle, which you could kind of see was a full cycle here, right? And again, the way it looks, you don't realize it's a cycle, right? And that's the tricky thing about the market. Nonetheless, when you look at the RSI, you see you've got that major up move, which again, I'll sort of divide that up to make it clear. So you've got that phase one move, and let's make that purple or something, and a solid line. So move one, then we move on to move two, and then we move to move three. So this is how you sort of understand cycles, right? What phase are we in? Are we in a bear cycle, consolidation, or in a decline, correction, or bear cycle? So again, critically, as we crossed here back in February of 2024, we had a break above the moving average, had a strong move upwards, which was obviously a bull move. This is when exuberance kicks in. Everyone's really hype about the market. And this is where generally people start to lose money, because the market knows everyone has got in the market around here, right? Everyone has joined into the fund. And because they've joined into the fund, and it's just too many, and this is also around ETFs were published, BlackRock got active. So what they want to do is take your money. So this is the point where they start taking your money. And that's what you see in this consolidation. This is the crunch. You're in the cruncher, all right? Then, even as, let's say, you maintain hope, and you follow through to phase three, and now it's moving back up. You're like, okay, we've crossed the moving average again. We're excited about things. We're excited about the future. They go ahead and get a bunch more buyers in, thinking that this is the major boom, and it's not. It's not the major boom. It's the major decline. So now you got people losing major money here, major money on the way down. And we also broke that neckline as well. So this would be considered the neckline sort of between these two tops. I guess you could consider that top one, top two. And then we also had another lure. So this is something that market makers use as well. So if this is the neckline and then we pierce that neckline and there's a major move down, we've just invited a bunch of people to come in and sell positions, right? So not only are they selling positions, but they're also deciding, you know what, we want to make a strong move and start short selling the market. And then you know how the market responds. It decides to reverse. So again, the market is always doing things to take your money. Nonetheless, the more you understand the big cycles and the sub cycles, you can start to calibrate where you are in this whole process. So very specifically to what I want to point out to today, after this last little review of trend lines and resistance. So this is the top resistance here, and we have a bottom resistance close to this neckline, also close to the last bottom that just occurred. So these are clearly resistance levels. And also we've got this nice trend line. So we've got multiple hits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now 6. That is 100% a trend line you should be aware of. And also you should have been aware of it that once this phase 3 completed, it needed to tap that trend line before the break. So again, these are things that as you kind of get experience and look at a lot of charts, you'll start to see these things. Now, critically here is after that major tap of that trend line, and we've now reached that resistance, which already existed because that was the neckline. We cross through the MA, and we start making a major move upward. Now, what we have is a sort of sub-cycle of phase one. So again, I would consider this part one, and then we're going into part two, and then we're going to go to part three, right? And these three will make up a full phase. So these are like sub-phases within the major bull run. All right, so with that being said, I believe we're in phase two. So let me go back and show that. I believe we're in phase two. So this would be considered one, and let's make that a little bigger. Phase one, phase two, phase three. Now these are sub-phases. And that's the thing, the market is fractal. So, and when I say sub-phases, I'm saying like if you divide this into phases, it's the same thing. So that's kind of what I'm demonstrating, is this idea that that's one, that's two, and that's three. So this is what I mean by sub-phases of the main phase. Nonetheless, we're in phase two, I believe, and we already have a break of this top resistance of phase one. To me, this is a strong indication that we're going into a very strong bullish situation that people need to be aware of. So that's already one break of the sub-phase. Now, the next one is if we pass this top resistance, we're out of here. We're out of here. Now, the whole talk about 85,000, 100,000, that definitely kicks in as a real probability if we start to break this high here. Now another thing to be wary of is there could be a major pullback. Nonetheless, if we start breaking these highs, I think there's a strong possibility we're going to move to the upside. So what I'd say is start getting your investment in thirds. We're already 100% in a bull market. We've already just broke today. And as you can see here with this red candle, the market tried to pierce that resistance level of phase one. It came back, gained strength, and then pierced it today, July 29th. So I think this is a strong indication we're going to have a reasonably strong phase two, which I believe is going to look more something like this. And then we're going to boom up to phase three, and we'll kind of see where that goes. So that's my sort of prognostication about where this is likely to head. So with that being said, just wanted to tap in for a bit. Immediately when I opened up the chart, I started looking at a few things. I realized, wait, I think we're going into a major up move. Let me give folks a heads up so that you know what's happening, and we could start to make moves and money accordingly. So with that being said, it's your favorite financial architect, and this is kind of what I do here is architect wealth. So your favorite financial wealth architect is here to impart some wisdom, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next thing, and let's try to make this money. All right, have a good one.